Buckets. That's the name of my boat. Buckets.
Buckets. What we get.
Not the only transfer we got from Florida. Keith Stone, too. Remember that.
Everybody who watches his show on a regular basis knows my love of the stretch four.
You know, we all make mistakes. He might have made one going to Tallahassee.
See if y'all don't know. Dribble to the left, cross over to the right. Hurricane to the game, many buckets for the night. Matt with the pick and roll, Melissa with the give and go. This Shelly, you hoodie girl dunking in the hole. Check the scoreboard, this what we fall for. Peep the gameplay, they want an encore. Yeah, overtime for another round. It's buckets out the buckets, baby. You're out of time. It's buckets. What it is, homie, it's buckets. Woo! We get buckets. Yeah, baby, buckets.
I have no shame.
I know. That's the problem.
You guys are awesome.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Buckets. What is up, Melissa, Matt?
What's
How's it
going
going?
on?
Nothing
We
much,
got
man.
another week closer to tip off.
I know. We got a scrimmage. Is
What
it
are we,
this
11 days
Saturday,
away?
actually? Or isn't there an exhibition this Saturday, or is it next Saturday? We probably should have known this, but...
No, I think it's this week because the season starts.
It's an 11
Yeah.
days.
Season
That's
starts on
crazy.
November 6th.
I saw that tweet from Kane's Hoops today. 11 days away until the season starts. So
Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, the 29th is
There we go.
exhibition for the men and for the women. It is. The women don't have it. They're going straight in November
There we
9th.
go.
yeah,
So we're
when
two
Coach
weeks
Meyer
away
was on
from
the
it.
show, they were getting a little antsy. They're like, we're ready to start the season. So
Well,
speaking of Coach Meyer,
they got a couple of weeks. Yep.
speaking of Coach Meyer, if y'all didn't see my Twitter this past week, I had the privilege of meeting both Coach Meyer and Coach L and getting some pictures with them. So they're now on my wall of fame, obviously. So good stuff.
Yes, Melissa was rubbing elbows with celebrities there on campus.
And I got to meet Amon Richards also. He's over here. I know it's more of a basketball wall, but I couldn't ignore him. So he's over here. There you go.
Man, I'm so lucky to do this podcast with you two guys. You're both full-fledged celebrities now. Between
Oh,
you
what's
guys,
up, Jackson?
Hey. Jackson, that's my boy.
Jackson, I got to meet Jackson this weekend as well. He's a big basketball fan. He's a current student at Miami, so good stuff. Yep. He always re-listens to our stuff because he's either got class or studying when our pod comes on. So shout out. I got to meet him this weekend.
Hit them both.
He did a bean. If y'all know what Bean Boozled is, I was making everybody try beans.
So we didn't shout to Jackson, who I also met. We didn't know what Bean Boozled win was when you walked over to our side of the tailgate and started saying, does someone want to try a bean? And everyone's like, what the F are you talking about?
Well, that's not usually how you set it up. You don't say,
well, it was not. It was. I think you said who wants a bean or something to that effect. You definitely did not explain what was even happening.
Basically, what Bean Boozled is you like spin a little wheel and it lands on like a picture of a jelly bean, and that jelly bean can either be flavored like really good like peach or really bad like barf, and you don't know until you eat it. So they call it Bean Boozled. It's something that Coop started on his show. Sorry, because Coop was tailgating with us, so I brought it to the tailgate and was having people do the bean challenge.
Instructions, because we didn't know what was
Jackson had to eat a barf bean, but he got it down. So
yeah,
strong work.
I had no idea what was happening. You had a wheel and a thing of bean.
the football tailgate was a lot of fun this weekend, and the Canes won, so good stuff. So, in light of this deja vu feeling, we're supposed to have Jack McClinton on the show shortly, so we'll see if that actually happens today. What's up, Daniel? Jackson does not recommend the beans.
Hey, Jasmyne. I know you're from there. You go into the game in Kentucky?
He is.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
He said because I think it's like right after Thanksgiving, so he's like, I'm just extending Thanksgiving break.
2 days after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because he's gonna be home. He's like, I'm extending my break.
I was actually talking to him too. I think he's actually going for the ACC tournament in DC too. He was talking about that.
Okay, well, I'll see you twice.
We might all be there, so we might have to coordinate with Jackson.
It would be hilarious if I didn't go to the ACC tournament, if I like fly over the country for stuff, but then it's like it's a mile that way. That's a little bit far.
Vish could literally walk to the ACC tournament coming up.
We are going to walk to the ACC tournament. I guess tend to take the train too.
Yeah, and you guys got to come to Miami so we can get put through shooting drills with Coach Meyer.
She did not. I gotta listen back to that. I didn't hear the word shooting. She just said
she said shooting drills. I've rewatched the interview. She said shooting drills.
I told you guys and you didn't listen to me.
I mean, shouldn't you tell her I don't need shooting drills?
No, Matt's a bucket. Matt sends us his videos from his men's league games. He's totally gonna destroy us.
Yo, I went off last week.
Oh, Jackson says that the ACC tournament lines up with spring break, so he think he can make it happen. Jackson, we'll talk because hopefully all of us are going to be there, so we'll definitely have to meet up at some point.
Yeah, I'm in a group on Twitter with him and Bill, and so we just talk about Canes hoops.
Oh, Bill, another our Norchad O'Meara thumbnail guy.
Who I think I'm gonna see next week at the North Carolina State football game. So Bill moved to North Carolina like a week ago, so.
There we go.
Well, he'll get to a lot of UM games because, half of the ACC. So.
Yep. But speaking of ACC legends, we have one backstage. If you would like me to meet our guest.
Well, so real quick, take two. We got him on the show tonight. Canes hoops legend, my first round draft pick in our buckets draft, number 33.
Why are you spelling the rest of it out?
Jack McClinton, bring him on. Hey,
there we go.
What's up, Jack?
How you doing? Sorry for the mishap last week.
No worries. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it a lot. So before we talk hoops, we got to get in our usual debate that the three of us have on this show. If you could only have one chicken sandwich from the rest of your life, would you go to Chick-fil-A or Popeyes?
That's easy. Chick-fil-A.
And I didn't, I didn't say anything. I just said be prepared to pick a side. I didn't like anything. So he picked that on his own. We will add you to the Chick-fil-A side. Both Julian Durand and Durand Scott also said Chick-fil-A. So strong word, Jack.
Chick-fil-A all day.
I need to get Jalea Williams on the Popeye side there. I have that on tape. But anyway,
doesn't count. She wasn't on the show. So Jack, you are a legend of Canes hoops, probably the best offensive game to come through Miami in years and years. You were number 33 at Miami. Was there any rhyme or reason to why you picked 33, or was that just?
There's a couple reasons. My dad wore 33 in college. He wore 32 and 33. I used to like Stephon Marbury a lot, and when he was in the NBA, he was number 33. And then I like Larry Bird because he could shoot. I think I had a Larry Bird jersey, and he was a shooter. So that's kind of like the 33. And then, 33 is not usually like a shooting guard, like a guard number. It's usually like a big man. So I just like the double three, and then, I shoot three. So it made sense.
Shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah, I want to ask you about a game in particular. I was actually telling one of my friends that you were coming on, and so he's a St. Mary's grad.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you remember a particular game against St. Mary's, maybe,
Sure.
where you dropped 38 was against. I think it was when Patty Mills was there on the team. Was that probably the game where you felt like the most locked in? You had that shooter's mentality going.
I mean, to be honest, I always was locked in. I don't think it was a particular game, but obviously that was the NCAA tournament. So, your level of focus has to be at an optimum level. But at the same time, I didn't really have a great first half. I mean, I had 6 points in the first half. So it was one of those things. I went into that game saying, look, I'm not going to hunt shots because, everybody watching the tournament, this is especially your time. Professor, the NBA's looking, all the top teams are looking. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to hunt my shot. I'm going to let the game come to me. I had 6 points in the first half. And then that second half, man, it just, I don't know. The game just came to me. And when I get going, I get going. And I really got going in that second half, man. And, that was a huge win for us. We hadn't been to the tournament in a while before that. So it was a great feeling to get a win in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. So, sorry. We do have, full of surprises here. Another
Oh,
guest
I got a question for you, Jack.
Okay.
So,
Okay, you want to handle
in your
it?
time, at Miami, who was the most entertaining, funniest teammate you had?
My time at Miami, entertaining, funniest teammate. I had a lot of funny teammates.
Oh,
James Deuce was very funny. James Deuce was very.
So it wasn't. What about
James
this guy?
Deuce.
What about this guy?
Who's that?
Go ahead,
This
Vish.
guy.
What about this guy?
No, Malcolm
What up, boy?
Malcolm was there for the year I sat out, so he wasn't really like my team. He was my teammate, but we didn't play together. But if you include Malcolm's for sure the funniest. No
Good save.
My dog,
Good
what's
save.
the word?
No question. No question, Malcolm. Yeah, no question.
So
Right there, man.
I talked to Malcolm on occasion, and I told him that we were gonna have you on the show, so he wanted to make a little appearance here. And
Sure.
Malcolm is one
Shout
of
out Malcolm, man. He's doing an amazing job, post-career basketball, coaching, teaching, content. I mean, I believe Malcolm's going to be a superstar off the court, with anything he does, especially like his personality, like you said, funniest guy. And he's using that to his advantage now, on social media. He's taking the world by storm. And next thing you know, you're going
that, brother.
Lights, camera, action, a movie or something. But I'm proud of you. Just want to say that, bro. I'm super proud of you. What you doing?
I appreciate it, man. You know that. You know how we rock, bro.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, Malcolm, I think you talked a little bit. I mean, this was the year that Jack referenced it, the year he sat out. But can you talk a little bit about like what Jack how he helped you and your guys' relationship at Miami?
I always tell Jack this when I talk to him, and it's important that I let everybody know. But the year I sat out, it was it was tough for me, man. It was cool at first beginning of the season because I was practicing and all that, but it didn't really hit me until I think they had a tournament in I think it was Maui, right, Jack?
Yes.
Your team, I had the Maui joint. Y'all played Connecticut and all that.
Yeah. That was Maui. Yeah, I think so.
And that kind of like hurt me a little bit, but like seeing them get on the bus and like, what I'm saying? I was used to being in with them and seeing them on the bus, like that kind of hurt. So I remember when they got back, I asked him, I'm like, yo, how do I do this? I'll never forget what he told me. He was like, yo, stay in the gym, bro. And before you know it, you'll be playing. And I took that to heart. And I used to try to beat him in the gym. Like, honestly, like I would be like, damn, like he can't be in the gym right now. I get in there, he already got the music playing, he's shooting. And I would be mad, like, damn, like he beat me here again. So Jack is definitely like Jack, Sebastian Telfair, definitely like two guys that really showed me what hard work was. Like the dude would come from here, go out, he'd go from the club right to the gym. I had never seen nothing like that before. I'm like, nah, this dude different. Real talk, like I had never seen nothing like that before. I'm like, nah, man, like I gotta step it up. And you seen like it paid off. Like he's a legend, like he told me to step back. I took that to New York. Everybody was going crazy. I'm like, yo, I got that from Jack, man. So, I got nothing but love for that dude, man. I appreciate everything you taught me, bro.
I appreciate
That's why your number's in the rafters, Jack. Number 33 is up in the lot.
Sure, man.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Hey, Malcolm.
That's why he was my number one pick in our Canes Hoops draft. Number one pick.
Very smart. Very smart.
I'll keep throwing that out there. I don't care.
Hey, Malcolm, we appreciate you coming on. Coming and surprising Jack for a little bit here, but we gotta have you on the show full time at some point, man.
No doubt, man. Just let me know when I'm there.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. Hope
Thanks,
you have a good
Malcolm.
night.
Absolutely. G-Shock love, bro.
I love you, bro. Talk to you soon.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Peace.
So a bit of a random fun fact that me and you have in common, Jack. We've both been ejected from the arena. I got thrown out of a game my senior year for waving money at the refs, and you got kicked out of the Ohio State game. Do you think your throwout was warranted? And what was and have you ever been kicked out of a game before?
I don't think it was warranted. I mean, so a funny story that game, I had just lost my grandfather, so I had a lot of like emotion built up in me, and like that game I wanted to dedicate to my grandfather. He died when he was 76, and I was trying to get 76 points that game. That was my like. I mean, when you say locked in, you asked me that earlier. I think that might have been a game where it was like in my mind, I was like, I'm about to like do like what Chris Paul did when his grandfather died. He had the same amount of points, whatever. And so that game, my adrenaline was rushing crazy. And if you do the math, I had 12 points in 4 minutes. So I was like kind of on track to do it. But what happened was they had subbed in a guy on the court, and he had not played a lot. He wasn't, I don't even know he was in the scouting report. And I was in triple threat. And if you know triple threat, the ball is like down and it's hidden. It's behind you. And they said he was swiping for the ball. He hit my whole face. He swiped my whole face. So my reaction was just like, if you look at the video, if you find it, it was like, boom, boom. It happened so fast. It wasn't like a planned like hit back. It was like, somebody hits you, you just react and hit him back. And then he fell. Now I shot the three, made the three, ran back down court. And then Thad Matta goes, hey, he slapped my player. And this is 2008 or 9. They went back to their replay.
9.
They weren't doing replays back then in 2009. You can't go back and rewind and watch the play. They went to the replay. So I could say I started the instant replay and changing and calling college basketball. That was never a thing. So that's why go replay.
I lost my voice. I lost my voice at that game booing when they ejected you. I was there in general admission.
I had to watch it in the locker room. I was hurt. That was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that story behind it, but I was thrown out of a game by the refs the year before in the stands. So
she waved money at the ref, and then like he went to the scores table, and then security came over and escorted her out.
That's true story. I don't think that's warranted. I mean, you should be able to wave money if you want. Right?
Yeah.
Were you on the court or are you just in the stand?
No, I was in the student section. Student section. There was a whole student newspaper article about it after, but it's just I was just like, oh, I figured I'd ask you about it since we have that in common.
Yeah, that was a tough one. We ended up losing that game too.
Against Ohio State.
That was a tough one because we were winning too.
Yeah, no, it was we looked up the game. We actually tried to find the video. We could not find it. Because we remembered it being a little. Now that you remember because I don't think they were allowed to use replay back then.
No, they weren't.
That was. I remember there was something like really effed up about that ejection, and now when you brought it back up, they weren't allowed. Replay was not part of college basketball. Replay, bro. And they went and looked at it anyway and threw him out off the replay when you weren't even allowed to look.
And handed Ohio State that game along with it.
Yeah, for sure.
It happens. That's all good.
No, we have to. Let's not bring up all the bad stuff. Can you? There's a lot of good stuff here. Jack, the leading 3-point shooter and free throw shooter in school. This man's the leading free throw percent shooter in school history at the school Rick Barry went to.
Yeah.
Let's talk positive here.
Jack, I know you probably hear this a lot that you were before your time, offensively in terms of efficiency as like a high volume shooter. I don't think it was something that, people had ever seen until, kind of this era. Right.
Right.
What was kind of the work that went into that? And what's the difference between being a good shooter and an elite shooter? Like, how do you reach that level?
I think one is obviously, repetition. You have to shoot a lot. Like I was making 1,000 shots a day. Not shooting, I was making 1,000 a day. Maybe I shoot 300 in the morning, 300 like after practice, then I might shoot another 400, make another 400 at night. So my goal was to make 1,000 shots a day. And like when you're shooting that much, I didn't miss a lot when I shot. So I'm like, I never usually miss 2 threes in a row, like in workouts. So in a game, my mindset was like, okay, if I miss this one, I'm probably going to make the next one because I don't really miss too many shots in a row. So I think the repetition, obviously the confidence. And you also got to have a coach that believes. And, Coach Haith believed in me because I put the work in. I was always in the gym, like Malcolm said, all night, midnight, after the club, before the club, like I was in the gym. So I think mindset and repetition, man, I shot a lot of shots and I made a lot of shots. I think that's the key, making shots. Everybody's like, oh, you get your shot. Yeah, I shot 500, but like, how many did you make? I think you have to make shots. You got to see the ball going to the basket. And I think that does something to you mentally. I guess my DNA adapted to making shots. So it became very easy to me.
Was Coach Haith? Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I think I was going to ask about Coach Haith too. So you go for it.
You mentioned Coach Haith. Was Coach Haith a big reason why you transferred to Miami? Because you had started at Siena and transferred to Miami. What brought you to Miami? What were some of the factors?
Honestly, I didn't have you got to think in high school, I had no scholarships. I was 0 scholarships in high school. I ended up going to prep school, which is you get an extra year. Basically, I was a postgraduate. So I went to prep school in Connecticut, South Kent, where my teammate was Darrell Wright, who at the time when I was in Miami, he was on the Heat. So I wasn't recruited, but Darrell Wright was a top player in the country. So every coach from every school was there to watch Darrell. So while they were there to watch Darrell, I was like, oh, well, they watching me too. So let me do my thing. And I got a scholarship to I had a bunch of mid-majors. At a prep school, I had Hartford, Central Connecticut State, Towson, Siena. A couple bigger schools started coming on later on, but I signed to Siena my first year. At one point I was ready to quit basketball. After when I got my scholarship to Siena, the coach was like, oh, you're going to be our starting guard. Don't worry. I get there and there's 4 other point guards. So my first 8 games, I didn't touch the floor. So I started getting discouraged, but I always stayed in the gym so I would be ready. And after the 9th game, every guard got hurt. So I had to play. And then that's when my career just took off. That's what I always tell kids now, look, just wait your turn, man. You never know what could happen. If you stay in the gym and your opportunity comes, you got to be ready. And I was ready. I was literally about to call my parents, you know what? I don't know if this basketball thing was for me. I put all this work in. I get here and I'm not playing. And then when I do get in for 2 minutes, I turn the ball over, coach takes me out. So I was getting very discouraged at one point. And then after my year at Siena, we had a bad year, but I had a great year. That's a tough word. Statistically, I had a great year. So after the year, my coach got fired, and the coach, Rob Lanier, was the coach there. And that was part of the biggest reasons, him and Rob Jackson, why I committed to Siena. So after that year, he got fired. And I'm like, well, if he's getting fired, I think I want to transfer because I came here to play with this coach. And my dad put together a highlight tape, all my offensive makes, and he literally put a DVD and we sent it to every school. We're finding out what the school is, and he just sent this highlight tape out. And it got to Coach Haith because my coach Rob Lanier, he had coached with Coach Haith at Texas years previous. So he's like, look, there's a guy, Jack McClendon, he's a mid-major player. He can go to Miami, can help you out. He may not be a superstar, but he can definitely help your team out. And to be honest, I didn't have many schools, and Siena also put holds on where I could transfer. They were like, you can't transfer here. You can't go to Maryland. You can't go to Georgetown. There was a ton of schools that they put a limit. They said you can't transfer there. So they put a lock on schools that I couldn't go to. And, Coach Haith took a chance on me. And to be honest, one of the main reasons why I committed to Miami is because of Darrell Wright. He was on the Miami Heat. So I'm like, well, look, if I don't play at Miami, I'm gonna bust my ass. I'm gonna work hard, but if it don't work out, I'm gonna be Darrell's manager on the Heat. So it's a win-win. And there was no pressure for me to come in to perform either. I wasn't a 5-star, so I'm like, there's no pressure. I think that's another thing that helped me out at Miami is that nobody expected me to do what I did, so there was no pressure going in and be like, you got to go in your first year and make third team ACC. You got to come in and be a starter. That wasn't the plan. So I think that helped me a lot, not having pressure going into Miami. But that's how I got to Miami. I transferred from Siena, relationships. They, Coach Lanier knew Coach Haith, took a chance on me, and it was all she wrote. But big ups to Coach Haith because he took a chance on a mid-major guy. That's back then, guys weren't transferring from, the MAC conference, a mid-major, to the ACC. That wasn't happening. So, usually you transfer down,
Yeah. So at what point then, because you kind of weren't heavily recruited out of high school, you started to finally find your way at Siena, and then, your coach gets fired, and now, like you said, Coach Haith took a shot on you from an ACC standpoint. At what point did you realize, not only can I play with these guys, I'm like one of the best players in the conference. I'm one of the best players to ever play at this school. Like, at what point did you, because you said even coming in, you weren't really under that pressure to have to do that.
Right.
But then obviously when you left the school, your name, like Melissa said, you're in the rafters, you're all over the record books now. Like, what did you realize, like, what you were capable of doing on that level?
The first thing that I saw, like, when I got to Miami, even the year I sat out, like, guys worked out, and like they practiced and they worked out, but like they weren't really going like to that ultimate measure, like, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 7 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. in the morning. Like, when I started doing that and I saw other guys not doing it as much, I was like, okay, that's an advantage I have, that I'm in the gym more, because I was a late bloomer. I was 5'9", 5'8", maybe in high school. You know what I mean? So that was one thing that boosted my confidence. Second thing was like, I think it was a couple of our first ACC game, I think, was Georgia Tech. And like, that was a big for him. Like, yo, I'm about to play Georgia Tech. Like, my sister went to Georgia Tech, years previous. She was a track star. And like, Georgia Tech was great back then. They had like Javaris Crittenton. They had Iman Shumpert. They had a lot of tough guards. And after that game, when I played, I had like 20-something on Georgia Tech. I'm like, yo, I might could do something here. And then it's all mental. At the end of the day, it's all mental. You know what I mean? Like, if you believe like in anything, like, I have a thing that, I coach some kids here at elementary. I have a school that I coach here. And I teach the kids, it's called BASE. It's believe, achieve, succeed, excellence. Because once you believe anything, if you believe, you can achieve anything. And once you achieve, you become successful. And then the excellence is the determining factor of all that. And I think my belief system changed Georgia Tech, and I believe that I could play in that league, and it happened. And I did it. And I took the world by storm. But I think one of the biggest things was that was no pressure for me to perform. I think that's why I was able to kind of go out there free, not worry about anything. And I think that Georgia Tech game was the game that I was like, yo, I could play. I could do something here.
Jack, I know you still have, some connections to the current Miami team. I know you still work out with some of the guys as well and whatnot. Do you ever think, though, too, like this era of basketball, like if you would have played at Miami during this time, the small ball era, it's a lot more fast paced, a lot more offensive possessions, like how many points you would have scored in this era, and how.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it all the time, but I also think about like everybody does what I did back then, so maybe I wouldn't have stood out as much. You know what I mean? You got everybody shooting deep threes. You got everybody running up and down, running and gunning. In my era, nobody was doing it. So like, I stood out like a sore thumb. So I think maybe this era, I could say, yeah, but at the same time, I could be like, I could get lost in the sauce, because now I got everybody else doing what I'm doing. I'm not saying they made the shots like I made percentage wise, but I could have got lost in this era, to be honest. So I think the fact that I played the way I played back then, I think it made it easier for me, because, like I said, Coach Haith gave me the ultimate green light. And when you got the I had a neon light. Once you have the neon light, man, that breeds confidence. So my confidence was like, I can literally go across half and shoot it if I wanted to, because I made that. I work on that shot. I was shooting from the U.
I mean, you earned that. You earned that. Right. You were making everything. Right. But so you got drafted by the Spurs after your time at Miami. Are there any experiences in the NBA that stood out to you, or anything that you learned?
I mean, I guess the first thing, like, obviously you're a second round pick, nothing's guaranteed. You know what I mean? You have to really make the roster. And one thing that I noticed, like when I got drafted, like to be completely frank, like obviously you have dreams of making the NBA when you're a kid, but like I never thought that like the career that I had, I never thought I'd be in the Hall of Fame. I never that wasn't like a realistic in my mind. It was like, I'll play Division I basketball and like, I'll be great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to work my butt off and hopefully something happens. But like, to sit here and tell you as a kid, like, I was like, I know I'm going to make the NBA. Never. Obviously, I dreamed about it. Like every kid dreams about it. But like, how many people actually make it? So, getting drafted, that was like a crazy feeling. And then, getting drafted to the Spurs, an organization like them is like, they don't just draft anybody. They draft like people that they feel can be in their system that could be, an addition. So summer league comes, and like one thing about the NBA, they target you. I was small. I was a small guard. I was a small guard. So summer league, I remember like they're like, "Oh, McClinton's when you post them up." And I remember my first summer league game. I couldn't guard those guys. They were big guards. So I wasn't really a point guard. I was like a natural shooting guard. So I had to guard the shooting guard. So, one of the biggest things was like guys are bigger and they really attack you. And then one thing I remember from the Spurs is just like the level of professionalism they had. Like that organization is like A1. I mean, it's like top tier, and that's why they've been successful over the years. That's why Pop is one of the best coaches of all time. And I mean, it's a great organization. They ran things the right way. That was definitely an awesome feeling being drafted by the Spurs.
So you've been doing some things outside of basketball as well since your time at Miami. Do you want to talk about your brands and what you've been up to now?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of stuff. So I have a Loaded Dock, which is a resort and swimwear brand. It's almost like Tommy Bahama, but for millennials. I built that in 2016. And from there, like I probably have like 13, 14 professional clients that I deal with. I create their whole wardrobe for them. That's like on the high fashion side. And then I also have a brand called Active Dreamers, where I do home decor, blankets and pillows. I've been licensed with the NBA, the NBPA, where the blanket is the player's body and the pillow is the player's face. And so I was going to
actually ask you about Active Dreamers because you're kind of going through like a rebrand with it as well, right?
Yeah.
So you have some new ideas coming out and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be dealing with some other leagues. I'm building a better executive team. Obviously, being an athlete, you learn on the go. I'm like, I didn't go to school to be a CEO or a businessman. So, I'm building my executive team out now. I have my own manufacturers now, own my own manufacturers. We're going to be dealing with some more leagues. So, I kind of jumped the gun early on. I had a great idea. I had licenses, but I didn't really have my infrastructure together. And I think any serial entrepreneurs out there, before you jump in to do anything, get your infrastructure set first, because if you jump the gun, it's like building a house. If you don't got the right stuff in the house can crash. You know what I mean? So for me, I had a great idea, but my infrastructure wasn't there. So I couldn't really scale the business like I wanted. So, now I'm building my infrastructure, building from the ground up. And, I'm excited for what's about to happen on the top of 2024. So I'm super excited about that. And Active Dreamers really started about really giving players ownership in something. You know what I mean? So, I had the license to create products with athletes' name, image, and likeness for the NBA. You know what I mean? That's just before the NIL stuff. It was always about empowering, athletes. And now my whole motto, like I hope the University of Miami, I talked to them last year about, looking at themselves as CEOs, like leverage the UN brand, like be a businessman, network, because your network is obviously your net worth. So I did a NIL panel, but my NIL stands for Network Investment Leverage. Because you got to be able to leverage your network, and you got to be able to invest in your network, and not a monetary thing, but like invest in speaking to people, because Miami is a very niche community, and there's a lot of people that want to help you out. So, that's something that I do now, is educate athletes on how to be CEOs of their own life and how to leverage, the position that they're in. So I'm all about empowering the new age athlete.
Did you study business at Miami?
I didn't. I was sports administration, but I had a lot of mentors. I was very
okay.
I wanted to understand, like, how is this guy that's worth 50 million a huge fan of me, and why am I a huge fan of this guy's worth 50 million? It's like, I don't know what it's like to have 50 million, and this guy doesn't know what it's like to hit a bunch of threes. But the common thing is, like, we both like sports. We're both like people, like, people. So I always understood back then when I was in school, I was talking to everybody. And I got mentors that were, big time businessmen that was my business course, learning about how to start a business, learning how to distribute dividends, learning how to create a cap table, learning about equity, learning about ownership. So, that's what I try to do now, is pour knowledge on, these professional guys, and definitely these high school and college guys now. So my school was mentorship. That was how I learned.
Can I ask you too, this is a little bit on the fashion front.
Right.
Just about like trends currently and whatnot. I feel like basketball apparel almost has like become like so mainstream, essentially like basketball shorts and stuff. You see so many basketball shorts companies on Instagram, social media, like, you know, whether it's like anime influenced or, you know, influenced with other ways. How have you seen, you know, kind of how trends have changed and whatnot?
Yeah, I think fashion is in a very unique space right now. You know, obviously with social media, anybody can come up and pop out and do a brand. But I think it's the fashion has lacked the originality. Is a lot of like people doing what other people do. It lacks quality. It's not the best quality because everybody just wants to have a brand and kind of get something out. But I think it shows you how influential basketball is. You know, like the basketball short is probably like the most popular fashion item right now. Everybody loves shorts. I mean, it's the mesh short. That's the new thing, the new mesh short. So I think basketball has a huge influence on culture and fashion. That's why you see a lot of athletes now starting fashion brands, and like the new athletes, you know, the NBA, that's the modern day runway. You know, you're seeing guys, you know, express themselves through fashion. So I think it's great. It's amazing.
Jack, I got one last question for you. Are you still doing the influencer runs? If so, I would like to get an invite, if possible. I wanna put the clamps on Michael B. Jordan.
Right. You know, it's funny. You know, when I was living in LA, we did that a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of, you know, musicians, movie people, and that was one thing. I have a great network. You know what I mean? So that's why I was doing those influencer runs where it's like, you know, I'll invite Mike B. Jordan, and then I'll invite Quavo or somebody, and then like Mike B. Jordan and Quavo are now friends. Now they built a connection, and so that's where that started. And I did it in LA, but I just moved back to Miami in April, so I plan to start getting some stuff together. But I got to see who's around. You know, Miami is more like a lot of people are actually moving here, but a lot of people come to Miami and visit, and then they leave. So it's just really figuring out who I can get in the gym and kind of go from there. But I definitely plan on doing it here in Miami, and I'll give you an invite, Maddie, when we do that. I'll let you know. Just
Matt,
don't
you
be
got
in
buckets.
I hit
He
11
sends us-
threes. I hit 11 threes in my last men's league game. So
How far is the line?
well, okay, it's college.
Oh, there we go.
It's college.
He just called you Matt.
See, you can get away with that. You can
I
get away
shoot-
with that.
I
You can get away with that when you're talking to us, but
No,
not with the all-time leading three-point shooter in Miami history, man. What are you doing?
Hey,
What are
they're
you
from,
doing?
like, it's not right. At the
Okay,
line.
let me say something real fast, Vish. You got it. So next time I want you to say all-time leading three-point percentage in ACC history.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
that.
ACC
Number one in ACC
Number
history.
one.
Number one.
Number one.
And number one draft pick on the Buckets draft.
Yes.
Throw it out there again. My number one draft pick.
But I will say, you know, that you mentioned how like a lot of people are shooters now. Your numbers still hold up, man. 15. I know you said like you might have gotten lost in the shuffle.
Right.
No one does it at the level you did it. Still, 15 years later. 15.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Well, that's why we'll brag for you then.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys having me on the show.
No, thank you so much for giving us all this time.
Make it happen.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
You're welcome anytime, and thank your boy Greg for us for hooking this up.
Yeah, and actually, now that you're back in Miami, are we going to see you at Watsco?
Yeah,
All right. We'll hook up there at some point.
I'll definitely talk.
All right, man. All right, thank you so much.
Well, actually, are you guys coming to the game Sunday? There's a game Sunday.
So
the exhibition.
Yeah.
So Jack, I'm actually in California.
I'm
the only one that lives in Miami.
Oh, okay, got it.
Although I'm down there all the time, so we'll hook up. I live in DC
I'm gonna be doing
now.
some commentating this year too, so I'm doing 6 games. I'm doing
oh, nice
exhibition. I'm doing UCF. I'm doing like 5 or 6 out of conference games. So you'll see me at the
Awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Awesome.
I'll be at quite a few of them. So
we'll definitely see you. See me, come say what's up.
All right, we'll
for
do.
sure,
We'll
for
do,
sure.
Man.
Thanks for coming on, Jack. We really appreciate
it.
it.
So much time.
Blessed day.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Well, Jack McClinton, everyone.
There we go. No technical difficulties this time.
Yes, no technical difficulties. We even got Malcolm Grant in there.
Yep. Malcolm came in early too. I thought he was going to come in later, and it was like one question in. It's like,
Dude, Malcolm. Well, he had to come in sooner. That's why he had something to do. But like when he just came in, like his face, he's just so funny. Like naturally, I don't know why. He's like just the most hilarious person ever.
You didn't see, like, I wasn't sure to bring it. So first he comes on, you can see his face. Then he was always on his phone. He puts his phone down. So I was about to tell you he was back, and I'm staring at a ceiling fan, and I'm like, do I let him in like that? Like, is he actually like standing there? And he's gonna pick the phone back up, or are we just gonna say, "Hey, Jack," and then here's a ceiling fan? Like, what's?
Well, you could have been like, "Here's your biggest fan."
I mean, yeah.
Yo,
Quick-witted enough.
it would have been hilarious if he said Malcolm though, but like we kind of like set him up for that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I forgot technically that like that they weren't, they didn't really play together.
Together.
But, I mean,
He did say my boy James Dews, who Matt is still not familiar with, and I'm telling you that is so much worse than Keith Stone that I don't even know where to begin, man. Don't even know where to begin.
Oh, I forgot to tell Malcolm that he's your contact photo on my phone.
It's okay. I mean, we
didn't have time. He was only on there for like a minute.
You don't have to air all of the dirty laundry in public. Some of it can just be between the three of us.
Well, Matt, I asked Matt
so
to pick a player, and he's like, "Do Malcolm."
So I got to tell you a quick funny story. So I was in a meeting this morning, and Malcolm posts like a bunch of funny like Instagram like videos and stuff, like just watching NBA games or college games or whatever. Like it's him like doing a voiceover, and you can see his face. And so I'm in a meeting. I pull out my phone, and I forget I was on Instagram. So I unlock my phone, and all you just hear is cookies, and it's just Malcolm Grant screaming like cookies, and everyone in the meeting was just like looking at me like, what the fuck is that?
Oh man.
Should you be?
Why was he screaming cookies?
What's happening here?
No, it was like we were taking a quick break. We were like, everyone was like about to get up, and then I unlocked it. So yeah,
sure.
But why was he screaming cookies?
It's because it was De'Aaron Fox got a steal, so it was like cookies. So he was like cookies.
Oh man, this is gonna be a jam-packed show though, because there's a lot to talk about in preseason.
Well, before we talk about other stuff, why don't we talk about Prize Picks?
There we go.
Do it.
All right, so our sponsor, the sponsor of Six Rooms, Canes, Buckets, and 5 Reasons Sports is Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com. Enter the offer code 5. That is the word 5 spelled out, FIVE. When you make your first deposit, and apparently the cops are coming for Matt. But other than that,
they found me. They found me.
I wasn't gonna interrupt that, but go
I mean, Matt's always got something going on. You can usually power through it, but I felt like I had to say something.
The way Prize Picks works is you bet on 2 to 5 players, bet over under on their stats, and if you get it all right, you win. Enter the offer code 5 FIV when you sign up, and we'll match up to your first $100. So go to PrizePicks.com.
Yeah, it's the offer code on your first deposit will match up to $100.
5, as in 5 national championships.
Yes, 5 football national championship, 4 for baseball.
So
couple on the way.
Before we move on, do you all like my new added additions to the wall?
Yeah.
Well, I want to know why.
Coach L.
I want to know why Jaleel Williams is not listed under Popeyes. I feel like that
because she has to be on the show. She actually has to come on Buckets. You can't just be at media days.
I have the video. This counts. If I hold the video up and
so then I can add Jasmyne to Chick-fil-A?
No, because she bait and switched me.
But she on video she said Chick-fil-A. So if I'm adding Jalea, I'm adding Jasmine. But Jack has been added. I really need to find a new spot for this because it's going to take up like the entire board at this point. But I will find a new spot or something. But I did just add Jack because he did say check, and he didn't even hesitate. He said easy Chick-fil-A.
I mean, Jalea was very fervently Popeyes.
Jasmine said Chick-fil-A. Just saying.
Yeah, but
just saying.
Jalea said something else too. She's like no doubt or something. So she spiked the football there. I should have gotten Coach Meyer a Popeyes.
We got Jack on here. Julian, Durand, and Jack all picked Chick-fil-A.
I also heard Ali Stedman's a big Popeyes fan, so just saying.
Where'd you hear that from?
I was DMing her. Yeah, she's gonna come on the show.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Anyway, Vish was at ACC Media Days.
Don't slide into college girls' DMs, please. We're gonna be down to 2 co-hosts again. Anyway,
I'm trying to get people on the show, dude. What are you talking about? Why'd you
Also,
paint it like that?
I finally
my
got somebody
God.
on the show. I'm just pointing that out. Like, at least I've brought in talent and guests into the show now. So shout out to Jack. Shout out to Greg to helping me get Jack on the show.
I thought you were gonna go, shout out to myself.
Why would I shout out myself?
Because you were busy
I can pat
bragging-
myself on the back.
You're busy bragging about yourself.
No, shout out to Greg for hooking that up and getting me in contact with Jack.
There we go. All right, let's get into
So.
this.
All right, yeah.
All right,
so
Vish, how was ACC Media Days?
it was good. It was a whirlwind of running into random.
Speaking
ACC
of Greg, he just
celebrities.
texted me saying that was solid.
Solid, better than solid. Yo, Greg, that was better than solid, man. Yeah, no, it's a 2-day event. The women are on the first day, men are on the second day. I was obviously there for the Canes, but yeah, no, it's a weird scene, man, because there's like all of the ACC network like personalities like that do hoops are there. So they're just like walking around, and it's not that big of a space. They're just like constantly running into people, and the players are obviously taller than everyone else by like a foot or two. So it's just like they're towering up. Most of them are like walking around in their uniforms because they're doing like photos.
I think what me and Matt want to know most about is that you asked Norchad a question in Spanish.
Two actually.
Yeah.
Two questions in Spanish.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you ask him about his gallbladder?
I did not ask him about his gallbladder. I asked him about his journey from Nicaragua to the United States. And
I knew you asked him about his journey because it was in English when you said journey.
You know what? I knew it was
Really
jornada, but then I was like, they use that for like the in soccer, because in my head I was like, journey is jornada, and then but then in soccer they use it for like that week's game, so like it's jornada uno dos because it's week 2. So I was like, am I misusing it? And just in my head, kind of like asistir doesn't mean to assist, it means to attend. Yeah. And so I was like, in my head, am I linking that to journey? But then when he answered me back, he said jornada. I was like, you dumbass, you should just, you're Spanish. I didn't trust myself. So
I'm sure he appreciated it though.
He got the, oh yeah, no, he definitely did. Actually, I left that in the thing, but afterwards he was like, he didn't expect it in Spanish and said he could understand what I was asking. So that was good. Yeah.
So for those listening or watching, Vish uploaded his interviews with Norchad, Nijel, and the coaches. Did you upload coaches or just players?
I did. So there's one episode that is Norchad, Nijel, and then the questions I asked at the press conference with the answers in. So that's Coach.
So those are just in pod. Those are just in pod format. So make sure you download 6 Canes.
So that's in pod format, and then I have a separate one with where I talked to Julia and Jasmine. I didn't interview Coach Meyer because Coach L, I had people around him, and I couldn't get really near him. I mean, Coach Meyer, I could have because I was the only one in that breakout room because it was literally the first thing on the first day, 8 a.m. was the women's team's breakout. So unless you're like there specifically to talk to Miami, you're not even like downstairs yet. And of course, that's why I was there. So I was there. I think one other media person came through for like a few minutes to ask some questions, and the rest of it was just us hanging out. I mean, Coach Meyer knows me, so she walks in, gives me a hug, and we start talking about Bojangles. And then, and I was like, I can't interview you now.
I mean, well, we've interviewed her twice, but we've asked her so much.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really have any. Like, there's no point because we were talking about you. We were talking about the Virginia football game on Saturday and stuff. So
yeah. But the point of it is make sure you're downloading 6 String Canes and look for the buckets.
There's a bunch of content on there. There's interviews with Julia and Jasmine as well. Again, there's the stuff with Norchad, Nijel, and Coach. And then there's also wrap-ups from each day. A bunch of stuff on the HCC commissioner's address as well, because he does that at the beginning of the second day. So all that's on the podcast feeds, as is Jazz and I, randomly in the middle of this, also interviewed from ACC Network, Eric McLean. That is on the feed as well. That's audio as well. So
who agreed it was a safety?
Agreed it was a safety. And then we started talking about Florida State, and he said, yeah, I think at this point you guys would just hope for neutral officials. So it's not just Miami fans.
he agrees. Good
clear,
stuff.
Yeah, check that whole interview out.
But as far as like all your interviews with the players, was there anything that stood out to you, Vish, that you were like, oh snap, or Anything
Yeah,
that you
I
enjoyed?
mean, I mean, we're burying the lead here because your boy was on TV yesterday, significantly. So,
Yeah.
so
Well, I
that
mean,
you know, I mean,
why
what are
are
we
we
doing here?
surprised by this?
I mean,
Like,
come
you're a
on, man, you're in the
celebrity.
midst of a celebrity here.
I know.
Which I actually didn't know I was on camera at the time, because they usually don't show the reporter asking the questions. But for whatever reason, they did. And then afterwards, someone, because I was like, "Oh, you're gonna hear my voice and we say 5 reasons sports. That's pretty cool." And then no, it was actually my face. So yeah, so check that out too. That's on. Someone put it on YouTube, but I'm sure it's gonna get yanked down because ESPN owns it. So you got to go on the ESPN app to watch the real version. Also, I realized like the way they were shooting in from the side, like my shoulder and half my head from behind is like in frame for a lot of it too. So there you go. There you go. You can see the back of my head. But yeah, no, in terms of like more seriously, yeah, what I asked Coach L was about kind of how his game has evolved over time, and I want to get your two take on this thing because his answer he actually name checked a lot of the players we talk about in the show, talking about how when he got here we had more bigs and played that.
I watched that part.
Yeah, but then interestingly enough, he said that because I think we all in our head link, okay, like 2 years ago was kind of the start of small ball. Like the season didn't go well, and we kind of shifted at the beginning too. Remember, because we got blown out by Dayton and all that stuff. We kind of shifted styles. But he actually attributes the way we're set up right now to Norchad, and was saying that with Norchad's skill set, you don't tell him to do other things. You take what he does well and you put the pieces around him.
Interesting.
And he talked about how different Wardenberg was from Norchad, even though they're both quote unquote bigs. And so he said the style of play right now is really just predicated on how Norchad plays. Wanted to get your takes on that.
Well, they're very different players, right? I think Sam played center, but he was more of a stretch four, right? That was kind of playing the center position for us, right?
I don't know. Ask Melissa. Ask Melissa. Is that
Love a stretch four?
Yeah, but I mean, you're the ruling on whether that's a stretch 4 or a stretch 5.
Is Sam Wardenberg a stretch 4? You don't think so?
That's a no. All right, keep going. You've been rejected.
Wait, hold on. No, you guys keep talking then, because I'm gonna.
He played center, but he played center.
That doesn't. I mean, Norchad plays center, but is he actually a center?
Yeah,
he's more of a 4.
He's the first team All ACC center.
Well,
that's looking something up.
There's also lists of him being one of the top power forwards in college basketball. So
all I'm saying is he's lining up at center.
In our group text, when I was showing the guys the new pictures on my wall, Matt asked me where I would put the Kenny Kaji photo, and I was like, I would just blow that up and take everything else down and put it.
He mentioned Kenny Kaji too. Coach mentioned him. Well,
in
he
his
was
last
seemed to be
year. In his last year here, Sam Wardenberg shot 41% from 3. So that's not a stretch big.
It's a stretch he's a 5. Stretch big. He's a stretch big. You said 4.
I mean,
he was a 5.
I never saw Sam Wardenberg as like a true center. I saw him as someone that would play next to.
He's a stretch. I don't know stretch 4, but he's a stretch big.
Here's where I would. I mean, we're going to seriously debate what position Sam Wardenberg plays. Let's do it. I would say.
It's not like we have anything else to talk about.
Nothing else happened this week, but no, I would say from an offensive standpoint, he played on the perimeter, but he guarded post. He played in the paint defensively. Like he was playing center defensively for sure.
Yeah, in his last year because he had to, but I don't think he was like. I don't think that was his strong suit of being a post defender. I think he was the best post defender because he was all we essentially had.
Anyway,
okay, let's just move on.
Anyway, let's yeah. But anyway, so your take about I forget how we even got on.
I don't even know what the question was now.
It was about how our offense is kind of predicated around.
Yeah, well, I think it's because Norchad, can guard bigger guys. He has the strength, he has the mobility. He's just different from any other player that we've had that plays that position, right?
I mean,
yeah.
he's not your typical center in that he's not even the tallest person on our team, or the second tallest. But you wouldn't even know it because he plays like he's a lot taller than what he is. But he's also more mobile than what a typical center would be. because of that. And so if he's developed his outside shooting game like people have been talking about, then he's arguably the best player on our team.
Well, Coach
why
L
not
actually
play to
Go
his
ahead.
strengths?
Yeah.
But if that's the case, you have to play to his strengths, because then he's just making if he can do what he's supposed to do even better, but by everyone else helping him, then in return everyone else around him is going to get better also.
Yeah, no, and Coach L did talk about how Norchad improved his 3-point shooting and his shooting. I asked Norchad about it. He was a little bit more evasive in his answer, so we'll see. He said you might see more of that from me this year, and he said towards the end of the year he started shooting it more. I did tell him, like, I watched him in warm-ups when he would make them, but not as much in the games. But he said, yeah, I think he's going to probably shoot more jumpers. I don't know about necessarily threes, but probably try to open, having a mid-range and forcing the center to come out and guard him will open the court up. So I think that's probably what they're looking for from him. The other thing that kind of is interesting is, sorry, Matt, I don't know if you have a point or anything.
I was just going to say,
too. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, if he has that ability, if at least just being a threat, he can hit that shot. It also opens up his ability to put the ball on the floor, right? Because I would trust him to get by a center guarding him, or whoever else is guarding him, because of that mobility that we're talking about.
Yeah, and he's and Coach also said he worked on his ball handling. I thought he was an underrated ball handler to begin with. He would initiate the offense a lot. He's very comfortable, which frankly part of it's because he's shorter. He's not, when you're 7 feet tall and you're dribbling, and you can't really dribble in traffic. Like, the ball's too high, it's easy to steal. But the fact that he's so wide and low and actually lower to the ground, like I thought he was already good handling, but apparently he's gotten better.
There was a few times he would get an offensive or a defensive rebound, and he would kind of push the ball, and it wouldn't look, unnatural.
Yeah, I would still get a little nervous about it, though.
You know what? I am almost the opposite, because our team is so freewheeling that when they're doing like crazy stuff, like I remember 2 years ago when Charlie Moore would like try these home run passes and they'd go wide and we get pissed. I'm amazed his bag now. He's comfortable. We're gonna kick their ass now. Like, we're playing Miami.
No, but I remember back in the day, some of our centers would start like dribbling down the court, and we'd all be like, "No, stop!"
Yeah, but those ones.
I won't name drop who those players were.
But those weren't the same style.
Yeah.
I mean, we're completely, and that's why I asked Coach L that question. Like, you go back to those first teams he had, it was always, I need two bigs on the floor. We're going to run pick and roll after pick and roll after pick and roll. It's like just a totally different team now. That's why I asked him the question, like, how is it evolved? And he's just like, whatever players are here, we fit to it, was basically his answer. Like, it's short.
Well, and that's sign of a good coach too. You adjust based on the personnel you have. You don't try to force players to be in a system, that you have established that you want to keep running.
Yeah,
but coach has proved, like, through the years that he adapts to the players and the personnel that he has.
Well, but I think if you look at it, there has been some linearity to it. It's not going back and forth. It has drifted this direction.
Yeah, we've gone smaller and smaller.
And he talked through that too. He's like, yeah, then we had again. He like named, we had Julian Gamble, Reggie Johnson. Then we had Tonya Jakiri, we had Kenny Kaji, and he kind of went through linearly, and then all of a sudden the bigs ran out. It's like, and then we had Wardenberg, but he wasn't really a big because he played on the perimeter, and he kind of, I mean, I understand we're saying adjust the talent. I do feel there is still a little bit of, you are in charge of how the talent gets in and who gets in too. So it's not like they're just taking to Matt and I had this and Melissa as well, but I think Matt and I were on opposite sides of this discussion over the summer. We're talking transfer portal and whether we need a traditional big or not. I mean, at this point, I think it's got to be intentional that we're not taking them. We don't want to use them. So he didn't answer.
Because it wouldn't fit into what we're doing. Like, you're not just going to take size for size if it's not going to fit into the plan. What's the point?
But I guess that's my point. We're not just fitting to our players. We're intentionally also getting players that fit what he's trying to do now, which is not what he was trying to do 10 years ago. And he did say they fit the schemes to the players, but it's a little bit of both. He's getting players that fit these schemes. Like we don't have for years we stunk if we didn't have a ball dominant point guard that could run pick and roll into the ground. And it was Larkin, it was Angel Rodriguez. It was why we were better with Jaquan Newton on the court than Chris Likes, even though he couldn't really shoot, but he was good at running the pick and roll and distributing the ball off of it. And after that, now like Nijel,
Matt's guy.
I don't care. I know I'm right. You can look at the numbers from that year and how he met. And it wasn't on. We almost won the game with a great baseline jump, and then we blew it at the end. But anyway, we've kind of drifted away from that dependency on the point guard to have to be the ball handler and to have bigs that can shoot because we need to run pick and roll. We've kind of drifted way away from that, and probably intentionally too, because last year and the year before that was the first time we actually had 2 good years in a row. It was always, this is a great year, and then sink for a year.
Yeah,
or two.
you look at 2014, you look at the 2013-2014 season after that run. I mean, it doesn't help that we lost like 6 players, but we haven't been able. You're right, we haven't been able to string along.
But look at the team that made the Elite Eight. Like we lost McGusty, we lost Warrenberg, we lost Charlie Moore.
Well, the transfer portal changes things. The transfer portal didn't exist in 2013.
It does, and it doesn't, because that team last year, obviously without Nijel and Norchad, is nowhere near what it was. Nope. It's still a tournament team. It's still a good team. It's not a Final Four team. Because you're going to field players. It's not like no one's going to play. Someone's going to play. We would have taken more high school players. They wouldn't have been as ready yet. But there was like severe drop off every time we were good in the tournament. Because that's why we had these eras. We got the Larkin era. Then it's then we're lull for a few years. Then it's Angel Rodriguez and Sheldon McClellan. Then it's a lull, and then it's Bruce Brown and Lonnie Walker. That's another lull. And now it's just continuous. I mean, we've turned over basically the only players left from the team that made the Elite Eight 2 years ago was like Wooga and Bensley, who barely played. And yet, we're going to talk about this in a second, picked to finish second in the ACC.
And then look who we're bringing in after this year.
Yeah.
We've got an amazing high school class.
I think I think his adjustment was realizing it's much more sustainable to get talented wing players that can play in space than it is to get the big and point guard combination to rely on pick and roll to generate your offense and to get into sets. Because Larkin gets into foul trouble. We like screwed because no one else can run the offense because it's so dependent on his skill set. This isn't the NBA where you get like 2 or 3, your backup point guards can still run everything. Maybe not as good, but I think that's the adjustment he made. But anyway, he did spend several minutes answering my question, which is cool. And then the other thing that I picked up on from the men, we'll talk about the women in a second, because I did, I wasn't professional with Katie Meyer, but the players, I did actually interview them professionally.
Katie Meyer's like family already at this point. I
know. And then she started the chicken thing, by the way, because I was she immediately
she dropped into my DMs, so I'm on like a cool basis now where I just have I can just have a chat with her, Coach Meyer's the best.
So yeah, no, she sees me, she hugs me because again I'm the only one in the room anyway. But and then we talked about Bojangles, we talked about Melissa Shorts, which are incoming apparently.
Coach Meyer,
and then we talked about the football team. And then she's the one who started the chicken stuff because she yelled at because all the players are they're separate tables. There's 3 tables in the room, and so you can just go up to the table. It's the breakout. You can just go up there and talk to them. It's not formal. And so she's shouting across the room, "What's your go-to chicken spot?" So she caused that whole thing. Yes.
I love it.
It wasn't me.
That's amazing.
It wasn't me. It was her. And I was like, well, now that's why I think Jalea was so, I'm thinking maybe I misheard Jasmine because Jalea was kind of closer to me and she just yelled, "Popeyes, no doubt, Popeyes." And I was like, well, I got to record this now. So then I went around.
Well, my girl Jasmine said Chick-fil-A, so
she
let's
did
go.
On the record, she certainly did.
But I've mentioned Jasmine quite a few times when we've been talking about the women's team and how excited I am to see her play.
We're going to talk about the women's team again.
Now I like her even more.
well, back to the men real quick before we pivot a little bit. So the other thing that was kind of odd, and it actually touched on a little bit what we were talking about a second ago, is you forget how quickly like everything turns over, because both Nijel and Norchad were new last year at this time, and now they're like, yeah, now they're the ones who've been here, and they're trying to like bring along the newcomers and kind of teach them how to play Miami basketball and all that. And it was kind of how quickly that changes from, this is your first year here, you're trying to figure everything out, to right now you're the established player. But this is one thing Norchad talked about. I think this was on the part I recorded, so it might be on our podcast, but like how much he said more advanced, like the freshmen we brought in and he are than they were last year or the year before. He also said Jakai had made a lot of strides, which is interesting because we're all kind of like, what's his role gonna be? And he name checked him before. He didn't mention like Chris Watson, or he mentioned Jakai, which is kind of interesting. But he talked about Keyshawn. He talked about we called Mike. I guess that's what we're going with now. So we don't have to say Nwoko.
Yeah.
So we don't have to say Nwoko. Right.
We've all been kind of talking about Keyshawn a lot.
Well, but he talked about both of them and said he thinks they're both kind of ready to play. So that was an interesting nugget.
Who, Mike and Keyshawn?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Because he said they're way more advanced than like the freshmen we've had in the past. So
any mentions of AJ Casey?
Those were the three people he mentioned: Jakai, Nwoko, and Keyshawn.
Interesting. All right. Well, he was talking. Okay.
Thoughts?
Interesting. I've been saying it for weeks now that I'm very excited for Keyshawn. He was playing in like a pro type league in Europe, so he's not your typical freshman, and he's also going to be 20 in December, so he's a little bit more grown than like your typical 17, 18-year-old coming onto campus as a freshman. And the fact that he gained like 3 inches from when he visited campus a year ago until now, like he's 6'8" now. I feel like with time in the system over the next few years, you could literally plug him into any position because he's used to being a guard, but now he's 6'8" and could probably play forward, and he puts more muscle on. He's kind of going to be that utility guy, and kind of like Jordan Miller-esque in the next couple of seasons as he develops, in my opinion.
Matt, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been saying this of recent. I think Keyshawn's going to be in. So we were kind of conflicted about what to expect from him, right? And I think one of the first things after he committed, and we kind of thought about it for a while, was that he has all the potential in the world. Obviously, Coach mentioned he grew 3 inches in the time it was like a few months, right? From when he visited campus versus when he actually showed up, and also gained 18 pounds in the off season as well. So he's putting some weight on, getting swole like Melissa. But
yeah, hopefully not swole like Melissa. Let's hope there's some actual muscle.
Hopefully a lot more swole.
Yeah, no, and I just love his versatility. I mean, whenever you have guard skills and you're 6'8" and you can shoot the ball, I mean, you can do a lot of things on the floor and you can play alongside a lot of guys. So I just think there's going to be ample opportunity for him to play this season. And I wouldn't be surprised.
Like his hair.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised I shouldn't say I wouldn't be surprised because I expect him to probably play the most minutes out of anyone on the bench.
And where do you think those minutes come in?
You mean like for
position
who?
Wise? Yeah, well, just position. Like, where do you think we'll see him?
I think you could see him in multiple spots.
Yeah, I think he could. I mean, like you could sub out if you look at our we're all sold on the starting 5 of Bensley, Nijel, Matt, Cleveland, and everyone. So I could see him. I mean, at least for the start, subbing in. Playing next to Nijel, playing next to Bensley. Subbing in for Wooga, like I think the minutes are there because he can, fill that role, and he has that versatility on defense to guard multiple positions as well. So I think what remains to be seen is, whether he can play next to Norchad immediately and guard bigger guys. I just don't know if he's ready for that yet, right?
But someone has to, right?
Yeah, someone has to, but
someone has to.
At this point, it's going to be AJ and and Mike.
Well,
I think
Cleveland.
I think AJ would be the one. In my thought process, AJ would be the one that would come in for Matt Cleveland. I don't know how often we'll see Nwoko and Norchad in together. I think it would be dependent on how much Norchad's 3-point shot has developed, if that makes sense.
When's the last time we had a freshman big log significant minutes and have like a carved out? I can't even remember.
Jakiri?
As a freshman, did he play a lot?
Jakiri, I mean, he was the fourth big man, but he did get time in that second unit.
What, like 7-8 minutes probably a game?
I mean, he did get, especially when Reggie Johnson was out with that thumb injury for a period of time in 2012. He got significant minutes off the bench.
I mean, I'm in the realm of like for Nwoko, like 10, 12 minutes maybe. I mean, this is like all estimate. Yeah. I think we talked about this before, right? When I had the rotation and I said like around 10 minutes.
Yeah, probably.
You're going to see him on the floor. I mean,
yeah.
We don't have a lot of bigs, so I mean, he's going to play out of necessity, whether he's ready or not. I mean, that's just how it is. Our bigs are Norchad, AJ, and Nwoko. That's it. That's all we have.
And Keyshawn apparently in Cleveland are going to play the 4, so we're piecing it together. I am curious if Jakai actually has a role because I thought it was odd Norchad name checked him.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
and
it's not a name you hear a lot, so maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised.
The last thing I would say about kind of just the overall team vibes is, I still feel like they don't feel respected, because they're not. I mean, you look at some of the questions. So, I mean, some of this ended up on our podcast feed, some of it didn't because I started recording in the middle. Like, obviously, this event's in North Carolina. There's a lot of North Carolina-based reporters there. Like, just asking Norchad, what do you think about Filipowski? Who gives a shit? Right? And then ask him all these questions about Armando Bacot. And you could tell he got annoyed on the Bacot one because they're like, how do you defend someone? And he's like, say, yeah, you do this. You deny him the ball. He does the like easier said than done than Norchad. I think this might actually be on the recording I have because it was someone else asking that question. He's like, yeah, well, I've done pretty well against him. He locks his ass up when they play. And so, like, to come in there and not
the one time Norchad played against Duke, we won. Well, people forget the second time we played Duke in the ACC tournament, he got injured in the first minute and didn't play.
Lost at Duke last year.
We lost at Duke too.
I've repressed that.
But you could tell he was kind of annoyed. Like, who do you think you're talking to? And actually, you're talking to the first team All ACC. That's what you're talking to. But you're like, how do you manage to defend this dude? Is like,
because these reporters know nothing about.
I will say.
This is what I'm saying.
Nothing about Miami basketball. It's all these North Carolina guys that only care about Duke and UNC.
That's what I'm saying, and I think that's where you're kind of seeing still that chip on the shoulder is still there.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, we won this conference. Like, I'm the only one in the press conference that came from Miami. Like, I don't, and it's ridiculous. This is a Final Four. By the way, we had an Elite 8 women's team and a Final Four women's team, and I'm the only one that showed up from Miami. It's crazy. So I still think that is still, and I think they're kind of used to it. Like, the breakout room started late because North Carolina was the breakout room before us, and they ran long, and we were all just kind of standing out in the hallway waiting to go in, and Coach L was talking to the assistant AD, and he's like, why is it running long? She's like, it's North Carolina. He's like, oh, of course. And like, I think they're just kind of used to that being an afterthought stuff, but I also think it motivates them. Like, hey, we won this conference. We went to the Final Four.
Yep.
We're talking about a team that didn't even make the tournament.
Returning 3 starters and the 6th man.
And I think you're going to see a team that's really
a transfer starter from another team.
Yeah, and what I think is like much like last year. Well, last year's team was like, hey, we got to the Elite 8. We need to take one more step. I think you're going to see this similar thing this year. Hey, we got to finish the job this time. I think there's a lot of.
Are we going to be celebrating a national championship in Phoenix?
Well, we'll be hungover flying back from Cleveland after celebrating that one, but we'll get to the women in a second.
Well, the women's semifinal game is on my birthday, so that could be an insane weekend if things go how we want them to go. Because we'll be celebrating the women, the men, and my 38th birthday.
But I guess the last thing, yeah, I know we've talked about that. Either way, we'll celebrate something. But I do think, we talked a lot about they went and got a draft evaluation, both Norchad and Nijel, and came back. I think one of the main reasons they came back is because they're roommates, and I think they think
Like
they
playing
can
together?
Well, no, they think
Yeah.
they can win the championship this year, like flat out. They think they can take another step. I got that confidence out of them talking to them. It was like, because I think it was Norchad. I asked about, expectations after making the Final Four. I think it was Nijel, actually. And he's like, we don't care about what anyone else says. We're putting in the work we know we need to do and just taking it a game at a time. You could tell, like, he got serious. His face, like, kind of, like, this man is ready to, like.
I like the attitude and determination.
I think they're very locked in here. There was the only time I got Norchad to really like laugh was because I was talking to him in Spanish. He appreciated that, but like otherwise it was very much like, this is the business thing we have to do before we whip all your asses on the court, and I felt like that was the attitude I got out of them.
I do love a good Norchad smile, though.
Oh, you missed out. That was his biggest one. He was like, this I left it just really primarily for Matt, who told him I was going to ask him questions in Spanish, and I guess he forgot. I don't know what happened there, but I had to leave it. I didn't expect you to ask in Spanish, and I had to leave it in there.
Yeah, maybe he just wasn't expecting it. Like, even like he meant it just wouldn't happen in that setting. And even though I told him about it, you know what I mean? I don't know.
But it's also,
maybe he didn't realize it was going to be you asking.
No, I told him.
Name.
I told
him
him
my name.
name.
He showed us the DMs, man. He gave me
name.
And I'm wearing a lanyard with my name on it. So, although it's my
man, I gotta come to ACC Media Days with you next year.
I'm telling you, both should come. I could have used.
But you have to get me. But you have to get us some 5 Reasons Sports stuff to wear. Like, we don't have.
I mean, I was like the least professionally dressed person because I had a hat on, which paid off though, because 5 Reasons Sports aired on freaking ACC Network with my hat on. So we got good cred there.
Just get me a 5 Reasons Sports hoodie.
There actually are hoodies. We'll get one. But no one was wearing. Everyone was wearing like sports coats. I was the only one wearing a hat, but I'm repping the network. I'm leaving the hat on. Everyone was very kind of like sport coaty, and we're the ACC and it's the South type of bullshit going on there.
I'll show up in jeans. I'll show up in jeans and a
well, it's stupid hoodie. Because like half the players are just like wearing their jerseys, and so they're walking around like an undershirt and basketball shorts, because that's what a basketball jersey is. And it's like, you're gonna put a suit on with this? This dude is wearing like his basketball uniform.
I don't own dress clothes.
Well,
like I went to that event. I went to that event before the football game on Friday, and I was asking Coop. I was like, "Is there like a dress code requirement?" Because like I wear scrubs. I was like, "I wear scrubs to work. Like I don't have business casual." Like so. He was like, "I'm just wearing a polo and jeans." I was like, "Got it. I can just wear like a shirt and jeans and be good." So I was but everyone was wearing polos.
There's never dress codes, and
I was very concerned. I was like, I don't want to show up and look ridiculous, especially when I'm meeting the goats. You know what I mean? Like you got Coach L and Coach Meyer. So
yeah.
So I tried to tell Coach L I do a pod, but I don't think he heard me. But I got the picture.
I mean, he definitely heard I was from Miami, so I got that going.
But Coach Meyer, I saw her and I asked to take the picture, and she was like, "Oh, how was your vacation with your mom?" And I was like, "You saw my tweet?" I was like, "Oh, she is a friend."
Yeah, no, that's a different relationship there.
No, I love that though. Like she literally I tweeted one picture of me and my mom when we got back from vacation, and I was like, "Oh, vacations are the best with mom." And I saw her a few days later, and she's like, "Oh, how was your vacation?" Oh. The head honcho is in the house. Look at Miami Flo. Look at that.
Oh, look at this.
Miami. My boy Flo's right here.
I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Look at Miami Flo's right here. He's on the Wall of Fame. What up, Flo?
What is up, man? Most definitely. I am.
What's up, Flo?
I'm bona fide now. I feel like I've got my stripes.
We're we are going to be making an appearance on Flo's show to talk about basketball.
Yeah, no, I talked to him about that too.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. One, because I have never been on his show, and that's really exciting for me. But two, I love spreading the love of basketball to other networks in the Miami Canes YouTube community.
Yeah, no, but definitely you two should come next year because like you get all sorts of access, and I can only do one player at a time. So the breakout rooms, they're all 3 tables doing interviews like at the same time, and you kind of just go. That's why you could.
As much as I would want to interview Norchad, it would probably be best to not send me to talk to him because.
Oh, I know. I told you.
I would probably have a heart attack.
I'm trying not to get banned from these events.
Yeah.
But Norchad won't be there next year anyway, so it'll be someone else.
Yeah.
But no,
I feel like Keyshawn's becoming is going to be my next man up after Norchad.
Wow, you're already replaced.
Wait, I got dibs on Keyshawn. What the heck is this?
There's no dibs calling. We can both have the same favorite player.
Nah, dude. I'm president of the newly founded Keyshawn fan club.
Okay, all right. I'll let you have that.
I said it before you did.
Wait, no. We gotta let Matt have that one after what happened to the last club he was president of. So
yeah, how could you forget, Melissa?
Let him have the W here.
Oh, by the way, I just want to say, obviously it was NBA opening night, so shout out to all the former Canes, Lonnie Walker.
One in particular.
Bruce
Brown went off. Too bad it's for Indiana.
Who am I missing? Oh, Isaiah Wong, too. So shout out to those guys. What?
Anyway, no, but
I don't know if I heard you say a particular player.
Don't. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. I don't think so either. Yeah, no, but definitely if you two can make it next year, you should, because it's so much. Those breakout rooms where you get like the good interview because you can just ask them whatever you want. You got a half an hour, but I had to jump table to table because it was just me. When like if all 3 of us were there, we each could like post up at one of the tables and like had the whole interview.
Well, if Matt gets dibs on Keyshawn, then I get to pick which player I'm going to interview.
Why are you assuming it's going to be like if Wooga's still here? It's definitely going to be Wooga, and it'll probably be Bensley. They tend to take the veterans. They don't.
That's true.
That's true.
Although everyone's making fun of Baycock since 3rd time there, so everyone thinks he's going to leave every year, and he keeps coming back. Half of their press conference was just making jokes about how old he is.
I think it's so intriguing when you have like because JJ Starling was there on Syracuse. He's a transfer from Notre Dame, so like in the ACC, but transferred to another ACC.
We should have sent Cleveland.
Well, yeah, that would have been hilarious. Oh my god.
I did sit through the FSU press conference. Good to see Coach.
A part of me really wants to go to Tallahassee for that last game of the season because it's.
Have you ever been to Tallahassee?
I don't think I'd ever want to go there.
Then don't talk out of turn. Trust me, this is not a place you want to go.
I mean, yeah.
What a horrible place.
If anybody's joining us late, make sure you go back and rewatch the first or re-listen to the first part of the show because we had Jack McClinton.
Again, what I would recommend everyone doing is subscribing to the audio podcast because you'll get everything that we do on the network right there. You don't have to go find it.
I think we're boring Matt. He just yawned.
He's got to get his energy up for his game.
I know, that's what I'm trying to do.
Can we talk some women's basketball?
Well, just to wrap up here. So the other ones I sat through the Duke, Syracuse. Syracuse is apparently not playing zone anymore. That's a big change. That's why it's funny because I asked Coach L about like how much his style has evolved, and then like the day started with them asking Syracuse's coach they're still going to play zone, which they've been playing since like the 70s or whatever. It's just like it's so crazy. But then I saw Duke, Carolina were in the morning, and so was Florida State. The Carolina one was packed, of course. The other ones were even Duke wasn't even that. It was more than the other ones.
Who did Duke bring? Filipowski and Proctor?
No, they brought
Roach. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
Roach.
been there for a while. Yeah.
And then it's good to see Coach Ham too. He was the coach when I was in school here. I know. Everyone.
Some people got upset about use.
Yeah, you know what? They can all kiss my ass because he helped build this program up, and that's fine if you don't understand the history of the program, but it would have probably been recanceled if not for him because it was complete shit. because they had canceled the program. He came in and took on a terrible job and got it to the point where we won the Big East, made the Sweet 16. We're a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. And
there we go.
that was unthinkable.
Preach, Vish,
and,
preach.
and then obviously Michael Jordan called and he went to the Wizards. Because if Michael Jordan calls, go where Michael Jordan is. And he's not the one who married Jesus Christ, who hired Perry Clark, who I also saw there, by the way, because he's a broadcaster for ACC regional games.
Oh, yeah.
So he was hanging around. I saw him. Only one missing was Frank Haith. I had like the whole lineage there. I had Leonard Hamilton, Perry Clark, and Coach L. And there's like a Frank Haith-sized gap there. Everyone else was there.
Perry Clark, because he's been doing games for a while for ACC.
Oh yeah, no,
right?
I don't think he did. Did he even coach anywhere after Miami, or did he go straight into?
Matt doesn't even know who James Dews is. How would he know?
I know who Perry Clark is.
Perry Clark's a broadcaster on all of our games. I'm looking now.
Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, and South Carolina. He was an assistant.
Did you Google that, or did you know it?
No, I knew it.
Googled it. I can see
I was doing college. No, I was doing college coach grid.
So yeah, that was He was an assistant in South Carolina for 7 years. What the hell was he doing there? Anyway, yeah, but so he saw him too. I did tell him I was at school when he was the coach there at Miami. But anyway, he was talking to Seth Greenberg. Like I'm saying, just running into all these B-list like ACC people. Him and Seth Greenberg were talking, and I kind of interrupted just to let him know I went to school when he was at Miami when he was the coach. And then you see all the sets there, and like again, it's everyone you see on like the TV on ACC networks, just like walking around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you realize how tall all the players are, because I'm usually the tallest person in the room. Not.
I've never had that
Nijel,
problem.
at least.
I am taller than Nigel, not the Norchad though.
Can we quickly talk about how I'm not going to see Vish this weekend, which is probably the first time in weeks?
When was the last time? We realized that, I think, in the parking lot after the last game. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah, at the last tailgate after the game, I was like, oh, see you next. Oh, no, I'm not going to see you. Because, like, we tailgated together this past weekend. We went to UNC together the weekend before. We tailgated we went to Georgia Tech and tailgated together.
Was A&M before that? It was bye week.
No.
Okay, so
bye.
Okay, so
I didn't see you then.
No, it's been 3 weeks.
The bye.
Because we hadn't done Temple either, so
yeah,
it was A&M.
Are you coming down for Louisville?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
We talked about that. That's what we talked about in the parking lot. Because we're gonna try and watch the hoops game the day before if you can.
Bro, that was such a long day. I didn't even get back to my apartment until like 1:30 in the morning. We got to the tailgate at 3.
Yeah, no. But remember, we're gonna try and watch. There's a hoops game that Friday before. If you're off, I don't know if you are. We're gonna watch it together. Otherwise, I'll see you at the football game.
No, I think we realized I was working.
I don't think we even looked, but it doesn't matter. We'll talk offline. I don't know why we're doing this in
anyway,
the show. Let's talk about the women's hoops game.
Women's hoops. I got to meet Coach Meyer last week. She's amazing. But Jalea and Jasmine were at ACC Media Days. One of them picked Popeyes, and Jasmine picked Chick-fil-A.
One of them? Yeah, dude, Jalea like that? Broward County's own Jalea Williams? You're just gonna...
Honestly, I want to get her on the show so bad, Jalea. She looks like so much fun. Like, just in her interviews, like the way she talks and expands on questions and stuff, like, we need to get her on the show.
So speaking of Jalea and working on 3-point shooting, I asked her what part of her game she worked on. She said her 3-point shooting, which
there you go.
If you're familiar with Jalea's game, if she can knock threes down, it's game over.
She's insane.
She cannot guard her.
Else.
She's so quick, but everyone sags off of her and lets her shoot, and it's going to be problematic to defend. But the one thing, like, that all three of them, like coach and both the players, and in the main press conference and the breakout, this team is going to defend the crap out of everyone and just choke the life out of them. That is all they talk about. Is no one talks about offense. All they talk about is
more defense and more defense.
And they talked about the transfers coming in, and Jalea said Lamaya has she said ball hawk, but it came out sounding like ball hog. And then coach is like, she said ball hawk, not hog. It's hawk.
Yeah.
She's not a ball hog. But she was talking about
And
how
Lamaya is only a sophomore.
yeah, and she was a big time recruit that went to Arizona for a year and transferred in. But no, they were talking a lot about how like the players they brought in get after it defensively, and I think this is a team that's going to go up a level on the defensive end from what we even saw last year, and we were already really good defensively because it's more
and
more
you got to
length,
remember
athleticism.
they held LSU to like 50 something points in that Elite Eight game.
That
LSU put up over 100 against Iowa.
Yeah, no, and that was the other thing. All three of them are still pissed off about that game because they blew it.
Yeah,
they absolutely blew that game. They had it,
mm-hmm.
and then that team won the championship, and you could tell they're upset about it.
They
multiple times
they held them to the lowest amount of points that they had scored all year.
Yeah, and multiple
the
times
team went on to score over 100 in the finals.
Yeah, and multiple times they bring up, man, if we'd made a few more shots in that game. Because they got the looks.
Because their defense was insane.
Ball wouldn't go in. They got the looks too. It wasn't even like they couldn't score.
On the bucket.
So yeah, I think they're also going to be really motivated to
I remember watching that. I remember watching that game and being so frustrated because we were playing defense so well and we couldn't make a shot. And we said it like right after the Final Four. I think when you had me on the show before we even started the pod, I said how like we had that game, like we played defense so well and we couldn't make a shot. And there's some unfinished business with the players that are left from that team. There is some unfinished business for sure. And I'll say it now. I think the women have a really good shot to get to the Final Four next year. I mean, it really depends on the draw in the tournament, but I think this is one of our most talented teams we've ever had.
Well, the first thing, I mean, and let's actually, it's a great transition. Good job, Melissa. You're becoming a pro to the all ACC teams. Let's look at the women's order finish here because, I mean, the easiest way in the women's to make a run in the tournament is to host because you can actually host.
Yeah, if you're a top 4 seed.
Yeah, and I think the competitiveness. I mean, I can't even argue with the women being 6th.
No, there's so much talent in the ACC.
Is crazy.
There's so much talent. I mean, you got to remember, Virginia Tech made the Final Four last year.
And
Louisville 4th. It's only surprising to me because they lost Van Lith, so I'm not sure who else is on that team.
But I mean, this is a loaded team, so I mean, the Canes are going to have to either go on the road or really, outperform this because there's not going to be 6 hosts in the ACC. It's just not going to happen.
Wow, 4 teams got first place
and
votes,
the first part of our ACC schedule is so road heavy. Like our beginning of our ACC schedule is rough. We play like 70 to 80% of our first half of the schedule on the road. We have a lot of road games to start. Yeah,
and then out of conference too, at Baylor, at Mississippi State. So it's a tough.
Well, it's technically a neutral site versus Baylor, but it's in San Antonio, so it's basically at Baylor. It's in Texas.
It's actually a triple header.
Is it?
I'll pull it up in a second, but it's one women's game and two men's games. The women's game it's first, and then the men's ones are after it. So our game is the women's one, obviously, is the first one. I am grabbing it now. It is So we're playing Baylor at 4 p.m. Central, so 5 p.m. Good People time, and then it's Ole Miss and Cal, and then Tennessee.
The subtle shade at Matt because of his Pacific time.
I mean, I just insulted the whole country this time. It wasn't just Matt, because they're using Central Time in Texas, but we're not acknowledging.
This is why people like me and Matt better than you, Vish.
Boy, you're assuming things that aren't true.
No, they're true, right, Matt?
I don't know. I don't think so. At least on my perspective, I don't think people. You guys are the 2 celebrities. People don't know me.
People like me better than Vish. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Coach Meyer after this and say you got to pick one, and we'll see which one she does.
I don't know. I mean, people were walking up to Vish at the Final Four asking Matt to take pictures of them and Vish. So Vish does have a little bit of a fan.
That was
like
a moment
3
in time.
people, 3 or 4 people.
That was a moment in time type of thing, though. I don't think that those people probably don't even remember who I am anymore. But anyway,
I
yeah.
did
So
have that drunk guy at halftime of UNC wanting to take a picture with me.
Oh, yeah. You have a brand. I'm just like randomly known. Everyone knows Hoodie Girl is like
You just random people being like Hoodie Girl.
I mean, that was weird. I'm like, what am I
Well,
doing
no.
here?
So the event I went to on Friday, Coop asked me if I wanted to go with him, and when he was giving my name, he said Melissa first, and he was like Hoodie Girl, and the people were like, oh, that's actually her name, Melissa. Like we didn't know.
This is why I'm telling you, man. You gotta use your name. Anyway, our women will play at 5 p.m. Eastern against Baylor, and then after that is Cal and Ole Miss men, and then Tennessee and North Carolina State men is the night game.
Mm.
So that is in San Antonio, but obviously, like we're the only team playing a road game there.
Do you want to pull up the men's predicted?
Yeah, and just for completion here, none of our women were picked onto any of the all ACC or I mean we shouldn't really have anyone as a newcomer watch list. But yeah, all ACC we also got nothing. Now for the men, there's your vote.
I think 2 is very, very reasonable.
And
I think everybody and their mom knew Duke was going to be 1. So after Duke, it's kind of a mashup.
Well, I was actually surprised we were even second. I thought we were going to get hosed. I thought we were going to be 3rd or 4th, to be honest.
Al trying to butter me up there.
I don't know what to do with that. We don't objectify people on this show, so
at least he was complimenting me though. I'll take the compliment. And then at the end he said hit the like button, which we can always promote.
Yeah, we can promote the like button. All he said was that you looked better than the 2 of us, which is not really a great compliment, but so but anyway, yeah, no, Matt, I was also surprised we came in second just because like obviously I was there and I think the voting happens on site, but the schools select like who votes. It's kind of a weird thing. It's not everyone voting. And
I think 2, 3, or 4 would have been reasonable. Like I think if North Carolina was above us, I wouldn't have been mad. If Virginia was above us, I wouldn't have been mad. But I think that's where it kind of ended.
I would have been very upset if Virginia was ahead of us.
Why not?
To be honest.
They finished second in the ACC regular season.
They literally lost like they lost Jaden Gardner. They lost Kihei Clark. They lost Ben Vanderplas.
Yeah, but we're Miami. We're not gonna get the respect. So
yeah, I just don't think Virginia is gonna be very. I have them 6 actually, to be honest.
What's your top 5, Matt?
My top 5 is Duke, Miami, UNC, Clemson, and then who did I have 5th? Oh, NC State, and then I have Virginia.
What's yours, Melissa?
I don't follow the other ACC teams much as Matt does, but
dude,
I definitely I had Duke first, obviously, and then just off of bias, up Miami.
Off of bias, I mean, it's not a stretch here.
Well, yeah. I mean, is North Carolina going to be good? They were supposed to be good last year. Like it's kind of hard with them, but
9 new players. 9.
Yeah, I know. I think Duke, Miami, North Carolina. I definitely agree with Matt there. And then after that, I don't know. Like Clemson is always supposed to be good, but then like a couple of Clemson fans that I talk to hate their coach and think that he's destroying the program. So we'll see if Miami.
He's doing what now? He's destroying what?
Like they don't like him as a coach. Like they think Clemson could be a better team if they had better coaching.
What is there to destroy?
I don't know. Listen, I made $20 this weekend thanks to Miami beating Clemson. So
you still do that thing with Edwards?
We still have that bet, yeah. Like I think Clemson soccer or something beat Miami a couple weeks ago, so I had to give him $20. So got my 20 back.
I mean,
which was a surprise.
I'm just.
But you know what the great part about it was? He literally cash apped me right at the end of the game. Like that, I didn't even have to say anything. He just sent it. So as I'm celebrating in the stands, my friend Edward sent me the $20, and I was like, wow. Even adding to my joy as I'm celebrating with all the Coop people in my section. It's pretty cool. Shout out to Edward.
Anyway, I find it fascinating that Clemson thinks their basketball program something that's ruinable based on their history. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, they lost as a
Seriously.
1 seed in the NIT last year.
They're not. I mean, making the NIT as a 1 seed is an improvement for them. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Who do they think they are?
Listen, if we can finish second in the ACC, I'd be very happy with that.
No, because we're gonna win it.
Duke's
we're winning
gonna be
this
really
conference.
good.
Duke
I'm
can kiss my ass. We're gonna win this conference.
We'll clip this after we win the ACC.
We're gonna win the
Vish saying
conference and the tournament.
Okay, let me ask you something. Would you rather finish with the best record or win the ACC tournament?
Best record.
Okay.
The ACC, there's zero correlation between doing well in a conference tournament and doing well in the NCAA tournament, and that.
Okay, well, what if I told you we finished? Okay, you could either finish with the best record, right? So number 1 overall, or you could finish second and win the ACC tournament.
No, win the regular season.
Okay.
Again, I don't think there's any correlation between I want to win the national tournament.
Why don't we just double dip? I can pull out my 2012, 2013 merch and we can double dip again.
Yeah, and then we went and lost
to
the
the
Sweet 16, and I don't need that. I need
because Shane Larkin had food poisoning.
Look, man, we can make all the excuses we want. Like,
yeah, you know what I heard? Shane Larkin had Chick-fil-A the night before.
Oh, don't believe this propaganda.
You know what?
Propaganda.
You know where that game was, right?
Where? I don't remember.
That was here. That was in Washington.
Oh, in DC?
And if they went out to eat in Chinatown, because that's where the stadium is, I'm going to be very upset with Coach L for the rest of my life.
But it was only him.
I know. But Durant actually broke his jaw that week and stuff. There was some stuff going on. But again, those are excuses. Like, at the end of the day, we've been snake bit multiple times because I actually think if Bruce never got injured, because we always talk about if he had come back, we would have easily beaten Loyola. If he had never gotten injured that year, we probably win the ACC because we end up finishing second without him. And I think you're viewing that team as a lot differently because I think now that team is viewed as one that blew the Loyola game, and that was a heartbreaking loss. And because Loyola went on a run, could have gone on a run. When I think if Bruce was healthy the whole year, that team is viewed.
We would have been higher seeded.
Well, we would have won the ACC regular season almost for sure. We ended up finishing second without him.
Yeah.
And I think we view that as like it's probably a 1 or a 2 seed. Back then, people actually respected the ACC, and then we're probably looking at that very differently as not. And we also look at the 2013 one then differently too. It's not the one that got away, but as we've done this multiple times now. Because even the teams that were 5 seed last year and made the Final Four, what were we, a 10 2 years ago? I think a 10 seed.
Yeah,
like
10.
Yeah. So there's
made $100 off that USC game.
Jesus Christ, you got a gambling problem.
No, my mom's boyfriend went to USC, so we
gamble responsibly. Gamble responsibly.
Hey, I gamble and I win. There we go.
That is exactly how a degenerate loses all their money. So, we
can't sports bet in Florida. I can't go on those sites.
You should pay attention to the latest rulings. I think it's at least come into a Hard Rock. But anyway, you know what you can do in Florida? You can play Prize Picks. So do that.
Yeah, and I can go to Canes games because I live literally 10 minutes from the basketball stadium.
I mean, I'll be there a lot anyway because I'll fly down.
We'll be at a lot of games together.
But
I get Madden from Cali.
I think if you look at that 2013 team was a 2 seed. The Angel Rodriguez team was a 3 seed. Other than that, it's been like, oh, they made upsets. And I think if Bruce Brown had been healthy, that team gets seated near the top, and you have a completely different outlook on them. But
Melissa, why are you grabbing something? You were the one that went on a tangent about gambling.
For like 10 seconds. Like, you can't get that bored that quickly.
Yeah, you can. Here's the first and second team, all ACC. And
my guy, Norchad.
And
so Norchad made the first team. Nijel made the second team. Matt, would you like to comment about the positionless teams that were?
I love how we have 4 power forwards on the first
on
team.
the first team.
Yeah. It's a interesting dynamic. And then Reese Beekman is, I mean, I don't know how that works, but
yeah, it's kind of funny because it's the first team. And if you actually put that team on the court, it would be horrible.
like
So,
honestly,
the opponent would just pick them up full court, and it's a turnover on every possession. Like,
I might take the second team over the first team in a game.
Actually, that's true. There's ball handling.
Yeah, look, you got Judah Mintz and you got Nigel, and then you got Blake Hinson who can shoot from 50 feet.
You got Proctor too. Like it's all.
So can Nigel.
And then Quentin Post is good too. He's improved as a post player. I love how his last name's Post and he's a post.
I mean, he's got to play center on that team, but this is
Matt throwing out a name like there.
Yeah. By the way, we definitely, I mean, all name team at the ACC basketball tip-off. Jalea, Jasmine, Nijel, Norchad. I mean, you can't do better.
I saw a list of 100 best like college basketball names like for men's college basketball, and none of our guys were on the list. None of them. Maybe it was just 50. I don't know. It was. I was disappointed.
It doesn't matter.
How do you not have Wooga?
Well, it's not his name.
Because it's his nickname.
Yeah, his name's Niceem.
No, I know, but there's nicknames on the list. It's not like they're
then that's just
names.
cheating.
That's
true, I guess.
That's not, that's not, if you're gonna use nicknames, you can. No, we brought an elite name team across both programs. I'm glad that we've influenced it. The official account keeps tweeting about my guy this, my guy that. I feel like I think you can feel our fingerprints all over these programs at this point.
My guy.
But yeah,
are you guys happy? I finally brought back the quote of the week. It's been missing for 2 weeks.
I mean, technically, I guess I did say technical difficulties at some point last week, so so that counts. Yeah, and then those are the
almost 2 hours.
Those are the rookies.
Anything else to add?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the rookies. I would have never guessed Donald Hand from Boston College and Carlton. Well, Carlton Carrington is actually, I think he was like
it's a great name.
Yeah.
Carlton Carrington.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
But Jared McCain, shout out to my guy from over yonder, 30 minutes away, Corona.
There you go.
Even though he's
but you can't like him anymore. He's going to Duke.
He's done.
He's not your guy anymore.
He might be in the portal coming to Miami after we whip their ass this year. So just don't get too harsh on them.
I mean, the one and done guys, it's like,
it doesn't matter.
But
they're all gonna catch L's. This is the year we're gonna kill people. Confidence is high, man.
I would have loved to hear you interview Armando Bacot. How does it feel to know that you're going to catch another L?
From Coach L.
Who of your worst performances at UNC have been against Miami? Are you ready for the third?
Are you ready for Norchad to lock you down?
Do you want to tell the reporter over here about that because they think Norchad can't guard you?
Yeah. Do you have Norchad's phone number? And if you do, is his contact name Daddy?
This is why
I knew you were totally going there.
This is why I can't take you two places, not to go by myself, man. We'll get removed permanently from the fucking. We're on the ban list.
I'll give them 5 reasons to kick me out.
I still don't know what the 5 reasons are. I gotta ask you then.
We do.
What are the 5 reasons? What are the 5 reasons? I don't know. Although Coach L has definitely heard of us now, so that's good.
There we go.
So we got cred there.
He probably had already heard of you, Vish. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't ask you for a picture.
There were, which you're not supposed. Just to be clear, you're not supposed to do this for sure. Like even I knew this, but there were a few people asking for pictures with players that are there as reporters. Like you don't do that. That's just a no.
I know that's gonna be hard for me if I go to this. But I will be professional.
Not really, because it's just because I do both, right? And I switch between both of them. Like when I'm doing that, I'm not wearing Miami shit. You're wearing a credential on your neck, and you're feeling. It would be weird in that context to be talking to them and interviewing them and walk around the table like, "Hey, take a picture." It would be it's almost awkward to do it. So it's just a completely different vibe when you're doing it. That's how I go to games in the press box and don't cheer. No one around you is. You're kind of sitting there at a table. You're not like out in the stands, and it's just a totally different vibe that kind of lends itself to not doing those things. So you'll be fine. It's not. I've never like even felt the urge to do something stupid like that. So. And obviously you've sat next to me for games and yelled at me, so you know how I behave when I'm not doing press stuff.
Vish does this thing when he wants the team to hurry up, as if they can see him, where he sits there and starts going like this to get them to hurry up, and I'm just like, they can't see you, and you're driving me nuts.
all right. Wait, hold on a second, though. Like, so obviously they can't see me, although they should be looking up to me because it'd be faster to look up to me.
It drives me insane.
Okay, but. They can't hear or see any of the shit we're doing. So why is this any different?
Because it's just really annoying.
Go sit on the other side of me then. You don't have to see it.
It's just like, and I'm just like, stop.
Just look somewhere else. Like, why are you looking at me instead of the game anyway?
Because your arm is like right in my face because I'm sitting on that side of you.
Well, fine. Sit on
because you use your right hand.
Well, sit on the other side then.
I'll just sit with other people. Matt, break out the kendama.
Matt's gonna go drop buckets. Wait, hold on. We gotta end on this. Wait. We gotta end on this. we gotta end on Matt. Matt's got a big game tonight.
I do.
So tell us the stakes, man. What's gonna happen here?
It's a playoffs tonight. We're playing against a team that we beat by 5 last game.
Oh, so this is a tough game then.
Yeah, it's a tough game, but also too, one of our players is back. He only played 2 or 3 games with us, but he is the guy I told you guys about in the state of California. He has records. He's top 5 in career 3-pointers, and I think top 5 in career for like high school. So he's like right up there with like Lonzo, I think, and a few other guys as well.
The irrelevant ball brother. The irrelevant
one
ball
of the
brother.
ball. Yeah,
next time, just say ball. And then
ball.
You guys figure it out.
I don't know. Whatever. So we got a big game. Hoping I can shoot well. We'll see how it goes.
So did you just say you're like bringing a ringer in? Basically, is what happened here?
No, he's on the team, but he just could only play like 2 or 3 games before this.
So it's a big playoff game. And you're like, get him back out there. Is what has happened.
No, we knew he was gonna miss like a few games. It's just because he coaches. So he knew that like, his practice schedule just wasn't gonna work every Thursday. So but yeah, so he's back.
So do you get a big trophy if you win? What happens here?
I think we get jerseys. We get like it's through the city of Irvine. So city of Irvine champs jerseys. So you'll know
wear
that
it next week on the pod.
No, next week. If we win this week, next week will be the championship.
Wait, I thought this was the championship.
No. This is the playoffs. It's the first round of
the pod next week will be on Wednesday.
What is next week?
I work Thursday, so if there's going to be a pod, it's going to be on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Or you can do the pod without me, but that would be sad.
I mean, I'm just saying next Thursday is when.
I guess
Wednesday. Well, then Wednesday works perfectly.
Yeah. Doesn't.
Well. Next week we got to preview the seasons because.
Yeah, next week. Next week there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, next week is the double dose of season previews, one on for each team. So definitely stay tuned for that. We'll have coverage of the Virginia football game over the weekend. Also, I think Jazz and I are going to record a preview right after this show. So that'll be out on the podcast feed. Again, make sure you're getting on the podcast feed. You're going to miss it.
And me and Vish may be on the Flow channel previewing basketball at some point.
At some point, yes, that is accurate. We'll be out there, but I'm promoting our shit right now. So can we do that?
I'm just promoting us.
Can we promote the podcast feed where all of our content ads is including this show? So if you ever miss anything, make sure
download the podcast. 6 String Canes. Look for buckets.
Can I
listen
finish?
To it?
Here,
like it.
You're just gonna keep yelling over the top of me as I try to read us out here.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So there will be a put the kendama down. Damn it! I'm trying to be professional here. This is why I can't take you guys to press conferences and stuff. Look at this. I tried to professionally end the show, and I've got you playing with the beach ball, you playing with the kendama, you yelling, like everyone. All right, I'm gonna just mute both of you and throw you out of the stream and wrap this up. But anyway, subscribe to the Six Rings Canes podcast channel. There's a bunch of content on there that's not going out on YouTube, including we're gonna have a Virginia preview coming out before the Virginia game. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And then Sixers Canes weekly show is 8:30. As Melissa said, we'll have buckets next week on Wednesday. Big show. We're gonna preview both men's and women's basketball. All of that will end up on the podcast feed. So make sure you subscribe to that, as well as a lot of our side basketball stuff, including Matt's basketball show, only on the podcast feed. So if you're not subscribed to that, you're not going to get any of that content. So just look up Six Rings Canes wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can add it to any podcast app. It's on all major platforms. And Melissa, why don't you tell the folks where else you and I might be appearing?
I already said it. I don't have to repeat it.
I'm trying to teach you how to do this professionally.
When are we ever professional on this show?
I try to keep it together. I do a lot of editing. The podcast is actually way more professional than the show because I have to spend all this time cutting it out.
Let me ask you a question. Who drops the most F-bombs on this show?
Lance Leggett.
On this show? He's never been on our pod.
I don't care. It reverberates through eternity.
It's probably me. I know you're trying to target that to Vish. It's probably
Vish
me.
dropped multiple F-bombs.
That was just that one time. No, today?
You dropped quite a few F-bombs.
I did.
Today?
No, Vish did.
Today.
Yep.
I don't think he did today.
Are you referring to Duke? You said we were gonna effing kick their.
Did I say effing kick their ass or just kick their ass?
I thought.
Pretty sure you
used
the F word today.
Okay,
anyway.
how do I get from the most cussy person on the show from pretty sure I used the F word today? There was that
used
one.
The F word today.
There was that
you
one.
used the F word today. I don't know if it was with that particular part, but you've used it today.
Subscribe to the
it's a
podcast.
2-hour show. I'm not going to remember every little thing. But anyway, me and Vish will likely be appearing on Miami Flow to talk basketball. Also, Matt's ACC previews and talking about the ACC is awesome, so you should definitely catch that. Cue the Sox outro.
What the hell is going on?
I'm going to have to edit so much on the podcast. I'll see you guys later.
Don't cry. Keep it chill. Wear good socks.